Namaste everyone. Welcome to today's session on Sanskrit grammar. Today we are going to unlock the two most important building blocks of the Sanskrit language, noun forms and numbers. Think of noun forms as the skeleton of a sentence and numbers as the count that gives it precision. By the end of this lesson, you won't just be memorizing tables, you will understand why words change their endings and how to count like a scholar. Ready to dive in? Let's go. First, let's talk about Sanya Pada or nouns. In English, we say the boy, to the boy, or by the boy. But in Sanskrit, we do not use extra words like to or by as often. Instead, we change the ending of the noun itself. Every noun in Sanskrit is defined by three things. Linga, which is gender. Is it masculine? If it is masculine, it is pullingam. If it is feminine, strilinga. Or neuter gender, it is napumsakalinga. Vachana is, unlike English which has two, Sanskrit has three vachanas, that is numbers. Singular, dual for exactly two people, and plural, Bhagavachana Rupan. And we have Vibhakti, that is cases. There are 8 cases that tells us the noun's role in a sentence. Today we are diving into the heart of Sanskrit grammar. Look at the title on your screen. Akarantaha Pullingaha. This simply means masculine words that end with the sound A, like Bala, Rama, or Vriksha. If you master this one table, you unlock the key to thousands of Sanskrit words. Now take a look at the grid. On the top we have our three numbers Ekavachanam 1, Vivachanam 2 and Bahuvachanam many. On the left we have the 8 Vibhaktis or cases. Think of these as the roles a word plays in a sentence. First is Prathama Vibhakti, which is nothing but the subject. When a boy is doing an action, we use the first row. Balaha Balav Balaha. One boy, two boys, many boys. Coming to this Dvitiya Vibhakti, it specifies the object. If the action is happening to the boy, for example, I see the boy, we change the ending. It becomes Balam Balav Balane. Coming to the third Vibhakti, that is Tritiya, the instrument case. How do we say by or with the boy? We use the third case, Balena Balabhyam Balahi. Notice the ena ending. It is a classic sign of the third case. Moving on to the next Vibhakti or case, Chaturthi or Panchami, purpose and origin. Need to give something to the boy. Use Chaturthi Vibhakti. Balaya. Is something falling from the boy? Use Panchami Vibhakti Balat. Notice how the middle column Balabhyam stays exactly the same for both the cases. That makes it easier to remember. Coming on to Shashti Vibhakti, that is possession. This is a favorite to say the boy's book or of the boy. We say Balasya. It sounds a bit like the English word his, doesn't it? Balasya Balayoho Balana. Next is Sabdami Vibhakti, which tells us about the location. If something is in or on the boy, we use the seventh case Bale, Balayoho, Baleshu. And the last and final Sambodhana, that is calling out. Finally, if you are calling him, hey boy, we use Sambodhana. Hey Bala, Hey Bala, Hey Balaha. Before we move to the next slide, try to spot the patterns. Which forms look identical? Which endings repeat? Identifying these patterns is the secret to memorizing Sanskrit tables effortlessly. Ready to try this with the word Rama? Great job on the masculine nouns. Now, let's shift our focus to the feminine side of Sanskrit. Today's keyword is Lata. Notice that it ends with a long A sound. In Sanskrit, we call this Akaranta Strilinga. This category includes words like Balika, Mala, and Shala. Just like before, we have our 8 vibhaktis on the left. but keep an eye out. Feminine words follow their own unique rhythm. Let's break it down together. When we talk about Prathama and Dvitiya Vibhakti, the basics, to say the creeper as a subject, we say Lata, Late, Lataha. Notice the dual form Late. It's very distinct. For the object case, that is Dvitiya, it becomes Latham, Late, Lataha. Did you notice? The dual and plural forms are exactly the same for the first two cases. That is one less thing to memorize. Next, moving on to Tritiya Vibhakti, the by or with case. When something is done by the creeper, we use Lataya. Watch that ya ending. It's a classic feminine marker. The plural is Lata Bihi. Listen to the sound Bihi, Lata Bihi. It has a musical ring to it, doesn't it? Chaturthi and Panchami Vibhakti. Chaturthi is for and Panchami is from. If we are doing something for the creeper, it is Latayaha. Latayai. Sorry, it's not Latayaha, it's Latayai. And if a leaf falls from the creeper, that is Latayaha. Again, notice the middle column. Latabhyam repeats 3 times. In Sanskrit grammar, the dual forms are often your best friends because they repeat so much. Moving on to the next Vibhakti Shashti, the off case, to say the color of the creeper. We use the sixth case, Latayaha. Wait, did you catch that? The fifth and sixth cases in the singular are identical. Latayaha, Latayoho, Latanam. Latayoho, Latanam. It's not Latayoho, it's Latayoho, Latanam. Coming to Shabdami Vibhakti, the in or on case. If a bird is sitting on the creeper, we use Latayam. This yam ending is very common for feminine words in the seventh case, and for many creepers it is Latashu. Coming to Sambodhana, that is calling out. Finally, if you were talking to the vine in a poem, you would say he late. Now, here is a quick challenge for you. If Lata becomes Latayaha in the sixth case, how do you think the word Balika would sound in the sixth case? That's right. It's Balikayaha. Once you know the Lata table, you can decline almost any feminine word in Sanskrit. Now that we have looked at the word tables, you might be wondering, how do I actually use these in a sentence? This slide, Udaharani, that is examples, is where the magic happens. We are going to look at the first 4 cases and see how the endings change the meaning of the whole sentence. Coming to the Prathama Vibhakti, the doer. Let's start with the first row. This is the subject, the person or thing doing the action. Singular, Adhyapakaha Bodhayati. One teacher is explaining. For Dvivachanam, Kagau Dayataha. 2 birds are flying. Notice the aw ending. Coming to Bahuvachana Rupam, Janaha Udyane Bravanti. Many people are walking in the park. See how the verb changes from Bodhayati singular to Bramanti plural to match the subject. Grammar is like a puzzle where pieces must fit. Moving on to second Vibhakti, Dvitiya Vibhakti, the object, the thing receiving the action, that is actually object. The first example, Sikshika Patam Patayati. The teacher is teaching a lesson. That little dot on top tells us the lesson is the object. Look at the dual form. 2 boys are going home. Balakau Gruhe Gacchataha. And Bahuvachana Rupam Sainikaha Jananam Rakshanti. The soldiers protect the people. So note the N sound at the end. It's a classic marker for masculine plural objects. Next is Tritiya Vibhakti, which is an instrumental case. This case tells us how or with what an action is done. It is the instrument case. Aham Relayanena Gachami. I go by train. The ena ending on Relayana acts like the English word by. Aham Padabhyam Chalami. I walk with 2 feet. Remember, Padabhyam, that is Balabhyam from our table. Here it is in a sentence. Now, Balakaha Swavahanaihi Shalam Agachanti. The boys come to school by their own vehicles. The I ending tells us the means of transport. Next, moving on to the Chaturthi Vibhakti, which tells us about the purpose, the receiver case. We use this when giving something or doing something for someone. Pita putraya pustakam dadati. The father gives a book to the son. Tvam balikabhyam rotikam pacha. You cook roti for the two girls. Sainikaha janebhyaha suraksham kurvanti. Soldiers provide security for the people. See that abhyaha ending. It is the plural form. Did you notice how the endings we memorized in the tables are appearing right here in these sentences? Before we move on, I want you to look at the tritiya, that is plural. Can anyone find a word from our previous Bala table that rhymes with it? That is right, Balaihi. Every word follows the same logic. Ready for the next 4 cases? You have done a great job so far. Now, we know how to use the doer, the object and the tool. Let's look at the remaining 4 roles a word can play. We are moving from the 5th case all the way to how we address someone directly. Let's dive in. Coming to the Panchami Vibhakti. First, let's look the from case, which is the Panchami Vibhakti. Dvanihi Duradarshanat Agachati. The sound comes from the television. That at ending on Duradarshanat tells us the source of the sound. Coming to Dvivachana Rupam, Apanikaha Balakabhyam Rupyakani Svikaroti. The shopkeeper takes money from the 2 boys. Bahuvachana Rupam, Nitignyah Janebhyah Matam Pruchati. The politicians ask for an opinion from the people. See that abhyah ending. It is the plural form. Moving on to the Shashti Vibhakti, we have of or belonging to case. This is how we show ownership. Tat vrakshasya phalam maturam aste. That tree's fruit is sweet. The asya ending is just like adding s in English. Dvivachana Rupam. Vanaraha sunakayoho rotikam chorayati. The monkey steals the roti of the 2 dogs. Mahilanam Abaranani Sundarani Santi. The women's jewelry is beautiful. Whenever you hear Nam, that at the end, think of many. Moving on to the Shabdami Vibhakti, location or place. So this tells you where is the action happening, where or when. So Ekavachana Rupam for Shabdami Vibhakti, Vayu Yanam Akasha Marge Gachati. The airplane goes in the skyway. Dvivachana Rupam Margayoho Vrikshani Santi. There are trees on the 2 roads. Jantushalayam Anekani Jantavaha Santi. There are many animals in the zoo. Look at how Shalayam marks the location for feminine words. Last is the Sambodhanam, addressing or calling someone. Finally, we have this. This is how we get someone's attention. Are Kanye Grihapatam Kutra Asti. Hey girl, where is the homework? Moving on to the Dvivachana Rupam. Hey Purusha, Karyam Samyak Asti. Oh, you 2 men, the work is good. Vo Chatraha Swaha Punaha Agachantu. Oh, students, come again tomorrow. It's a very respectful way to address a group. Did you notice how the endings we saw in the tables are used in a sentence? Welcome back, everyone. We have already seen how words ending in are like Bala behave. But today we are moving to a new group, Vikaranta Pullinga. These are masculine words that end with a short I sound, E sound that is. Our model word is Muni, which means a sage or a saint. Once you learn this, you can easily use words like Kavi, poet, Rishi, Shir, or even Hari. Let's look at the first two rules, Pratama and Dvitiya. Pratama, we start with Munihi, but look at the dual, that is Dvivachana Rupam. Muni, E becomes long. In the plural, it changes completely to Munayaha. Munihi, Muni, Munayaha. In Dvitiya Vibhakti, for the object, we add the sound, Munim. And notice a pattern. The dual Muni stays exactly the same as the row above. For the plural many sages, it's Munin with a long E. Moving on to Tritiya and Chaturthi Vibhakti, action and purpose. Now, how do we say by the sage? That is Munina. Notice that na at the end moving to Chaturthi. Doing something for the sage, it becomes Munaye. It has a very distinct ye sound. Keep an eye on that middle column too. Munebya is going to be your best friend for the next 3 rows. Moving on to the Panchami and Shashti Vibhakti, the twin cases. Here is a shortcut for you. Look at the singular column for the 5th and 6th cases. They are identical. Panchami from the sage is Munehe. Shashti of the sage is also Munehe. In the plural for the 6th case, plural is nothing but Bahuvachana Rupam. For the 6th case, we see Muninam. Whenever you see Nam in Sanskrit, your brain should immediately think this means of many. For Shabdami meaning in or on the sage directly, Sambodhana, you say He Mune, He Muni, He Munayaka. Notice how it sounds just like the 5th and 6th cases, but without the dots, that is Visarga at the end. Sanskrit is all about patterns. I want you to look at the dual column. How many times does Munibhyam appear and how many times does Munayoho appear? That's right. Munibhyam appears 3 times and Munayoho appears twice. If you remember these blocks of identical words, you have already memorized half the table. Ready to try and chant this together? We have tackled words ending in A and E. Now let's look at the third major group, Ukaranta Pullinga. These are masculine words that end with the short U sound. Our example is Sadhu. Can you think of other common words like this? Think of Guru, teacher, Banu, son, or Shishru, infant. They all follow this exact same pattern. The first 2 cases, the identity rules are Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadavaha, Sadhum, Sadhu, Sadhuna. For Dvitiya, it is Sadhum, Sadhu, Sadhuna. When you see that long U sound, it is a signal that we are talking about more than one Sadhu. Moving on to the Tritiya, by or with, we have Sadhuna. Notice how it sounds like Munina. Sanskrit love its rhythm. Then we have Chaturthi, Sadhavi. If you are giving a gift for the saint, you use this form. Moving on to the next Panchami and Shashti. Keep your eyes on the singular column for the 5th and 6th rows. They are twins again, Sadhoho, from the saint or of the saint. And moving on to this Dvivachana Rupam, notice how the U sound turned into a V sound, Sadhoho. There is a little grammar secret called Sandhi. And moving on to the plural form, it is Sadhuna. Remember, Nam always means of many. For Sabdami, that is in or on, the word becomes Sadho. Hey Sadho. Imagine saying the peace resides in the saint. That's when you would use Sadho. And finally, to call out respectfully, we say Hey Sadho, Hey Sadhu, Hey Sadhavaha. Before we move on, let's test our pattern recognition skills. If the fourth case for sadhu is sadave, how do you think we would say for the teacher using the word guru? Exactly. It's gurave. You're not just learning one word today. You are learning a whole category of the Sanskrit language. We have seen the tables for Bala, Lata, Muni and Sadhu. But how do you know which row to pick when you are writing a sentence? This slide, Punaravati, that is revision, is your cheat sheet. It tells you exactly when to use each of the 8 cases. Moving on to the Pratama Vibhakti, that is the doer and the done to. It is a subject. If a boy is eating or a sage is praying, they are the ones doing the work. They get Pratama. Simple, right? Moving on to Dvitiya, which is the subject object. Now, if you ask the verb what or whom, the answer is in Dvitiya. For example, I see a bird. The bird gets Dvitiya here. And Tritiya Vibhakti, which is called the instrument case. Tritiya and Chaturthi is the tool and the purpose. So think of this as the helper case. Tritiya is the helper case. How are you doing the work? With a pen, by bus, with a friend. That with or by means you need Tritiya. Coming on to this Chaturthi, the receiver, this is a gift case. If someone is receiving something, like a student receiving a book or a plant receiving water, the receiver gets Chaturthi. And moving on to the Panchami and Shashti, it is the source and the owner. Panchami is your source. This is all about from. Did the fruit fall from the tree? Did you come from school? That starting point or source always takes the fifth case. Shashti is the possession, owner case. This shows belonging. If you want to say Ramas or the trees, you look at the Panchami. Sorry, Shashti Vibhakti. Next is Sabdami and the Sambodhanam. Sabdami tells you the location or time, where and when. Dates, times, location. For example, in the forest, on Monday, in the morning. This particular Shabdami Vibhakti is used. Sambodhanam is addressing someone. This isn't a role in the sentence, it's just for calling someone's attention. Hey friend or oh teacher. Now look at these 8 rules. If I want to say I write with a pen, which Vibhakti should I use for the word pen? Exactly, Tritiya. Because the pen is the tool helping me. Keep this slide in your mind and you will never be confused by a Sanskrit sentence again. Wait before we close our books for today. Do you realize what you just did? You have cracked the code of 8, the 8 vibhaktis that make Sanskrit one of the most scientific languages in the world. But here is a secret. What we saw today is just the front door of the mansion. Have you ever wondered why some Sanskrit words change their sound so musically? Or how you can tell exactly who is doing what to whom just by looking at the last 2 letters of a word? And most importantly, how can you remember all these tables without ever having to rote memorize them again? If you want to see these grammar rules turn into 3D stories, or if you want the cheat codes to master any Shabd-Rupa in under 5 minutes, I have hidden all those treasures for you at Information Nest. Head over to my YouTube channel, Information Nest. Look for the Sanskrit Superpowers playlist. There you will find animated breakdowns, musical chants to help you memorize, and even some fun quizzes to test your friends. Don't just learn Sanskrit, start living it. I will see you at the Information Nest for our next discovery Until then, Punarmilamaha. See you again.